Walking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And today I'm trying to fix the Instagram stream, but I'll get that up in just a second. I'm happy to present to you the penultimate episode of Fear the Walking Dead's 6th season, titled U.S.S. Pennsylvania. It is a real ship. We did cover that, sort of, in the episode. But I'm very happy to be here with you guys. We really did crush this episode. But if you want to get the unedited version of this episode, as well as the ability to join us in future sessions, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us there. Create an account, follow us, and you don't have to give us anything. Just follow us there. You'll be in the know. You'll know when we drop these unedited episodes, when you get the extra bits that you need. And my Instagram is totally taking a crap right now. No, it's okay. It's all up and running. Okay, so yes, I wish for you to do that, to go to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. And if you are interested in following us and joining us on this journey, or at least in individual journeys within each episode, buy us a coffee. Your supported back content will last 30 days. With which you'll be able to download the unedited episodes, join us in sessions, join us live on camera or not via audio in our Jackbox game sessions, which we will be starting up again once the season finale is done. So I'm hoping you guys join us on the journey. And if you happen to buy us a coffee during this stream, during this premiere, your message will pop up. Your donation and your message will pop up during the stream forever. So make it good. Squawking Dead sucks. That'll be there. You did that, for $3. I mean, ruining a podcaster's career for $3 or video, chef's kiss. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I don't have too much follow-up, actually, some housekeeping at all. Actually, I know there's been some news swirling about people speculating whether Season 7 of Fear the Walking Dead will be the last one. There's no concrete news. Everybody's spoiling the next episode, the season finale episode. It's chaos out there in the streets, people. Just you know what? Quarantine yourselves. You're gonna have to do a social media quarantine, just like we did a real life quarantine. We have to do a social media quarantine until the season finale is finally out, or you have the chance to watch it last night or the night before. I don't know. I can't help you. I haven't watched the next episode, but we will be. And if you happen to be following us on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, you can get the notification of when I film the Dave Reacts initial reaction, when I actually watch the episode for the first time. And you could be there this is going to be unedited, so you're going to see all the gaffes, all the people chiming in on what I just did or said, so it's more than just me reacting and watching and staying silent. It's just, there is a sense of community when we do this, so I urge you to follow us there. Anyway, and I will promise you one thing. I will have enough time after this season is over to produce quickly, hopefully, the Fear the Walking Dead themed Squawking Dead ringtone, which will be right next to our regular Squawking Dead ringtone, which you can both get from the coffee shop or the Ko-Fi shop. Yeah, Ko-Fi shop. So if you head to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and head over to the shop section, you can get the ringtone that's there already, which is great. I mean, I'm going to pat my own back and toot my own horn here, but it's pretty great. But the Fear the Walking Dead ringtone, which you're going to hear in just a second, that will be up there as soon as the season finale is over, and we cover that one. And I will be moving into my new place at some point. I mean, fingers crossed. It's been a little dramatic on my end. I don't really talk about that stuff too much, but that's going to be occupying most of my time after the season finale is over, and moving and packing and all that stuff. So wish me luck. It's the only time I'm going to make a personal plea here, outside of my birthday, but that'll be another half a year away. So enjoy this episode. I'll see you in the chat as this episode airs. And if you're watching on replay, or even now, make sure to like this video. And if you really like, or really have any confused comments or anything like that, or have any praise, leave them in the comments section, or reply to this via Twitter if you're watching via Periscope, or whatever. Please do. It helps us out a lot. It's the least expensive way of supporting this podcast is to spread the word. Thank you very much, and enjoy this video.
parallels now.
We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we make deep into your mouth, taking out your wisdom tools. I just got my wisdom tooth pulled. Your mouth? Exactly. And hey, we're here for another fine feathered episode of Fear the Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 15, the U.S.S. Pennsylvania. Well, it's not the, but whatever. I added the. It's the Facebook. It's the MySpace. It's the U.S.S. Pennsylvania. Well, I think we should talk about this at the top of the shows. So this way we kind of get out of the way and we don't forget. But you said something. Well, you said this a couple times, and I've kind of brought it back a couple times, that you said shows should be simple or simpler. Should be this complicated. Should be this convoluted. Emotionally draining. Emotionally too many parallels. I'm sick of it. It's kind of like the way I felt about JD with some of the smaller Easter eggs repeatedly coming on screen. But like, I didn't mind it. I just ignored it.
Yeah.
But let's talk to me about what you're feeling here, because this is going to springboard into how you felt about this episode overall. So we might as well get into that, and then we can go into all the things that maybe might save it for you. I don't know. I don't have that much faith in myself today for many reasons.
Well, okay, I have made that comment about, how shows, this show, could be a lot simpler and maybe a little bit easier to follow. But at the same time, like, as this is coming out of my face, in my brain, I'm still thinking, but this is exactly why I love this show, is because it's not like anything that I watch. I don't start every episode and know how it's going to end 10 minutes into it. You know what I mean? That gets boring. So as much as I complain about it, I do still love that they do that to us. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be here for all this time if some part of me didn't love it. So
this is reminding me of a conversation we had on Twitter the other day about why things are crazy. Like why?
Yeah.
Why we
but
like
does.
these things.
It does make me crazy. It makes me crazy, especially this season. This season specifically, because I want my happy endings. I just want something to happen where people are happy. I just want somebody to be like, "Oh, yay, we made it." And life can be great from here on out until the next season, of course. But like, I just want that moment of like where they can take a breath and go, "Oh, we did it. We did it, guys."
It's that kind of sort of thing that you got at the end of season 8 of The Walking Dead. Like, we did it
for like a minute.
It cost a lot, but we did it.
But we did it.
Yeah,
Go team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Watch him, the movie. This is the part where Rorschach goes in and goes, "No, the city is screaming out for help," and I'll just say, "No." And then Rachel's saying, "I just want a little breather, a little sort of happy ending plateau." And Rorschach says, Davis says, "No." No, it's the Walking Dead universe. There's no
on this show.
Charity, you'll get your parallels, Charity. You'll get so many parallels, you'll die from choking on the parallels.
Choke on all the parallels. Yeah.
Yes, you will die from your own hubris and your desires for more parallels, Charity. She said in the comments.
I don't pick up on a lot of the parallels. I mean, unless they are like wildly obvious. I mean, slap me in the face with it. I miss a lot of them. That's why I have you and Charity to tell me about the parallels.
It's funny that you say that, because you'll say that, and then in the next episode, or maybe even the same episode we're talking about, you'll say something like that I didn't see before, and that is a parallel. And I'll be, oh,
okay.
Oh, that's why is that why we're here? Is that why we do this little thing? I guess it is. Choke on your parallels, Charity.
No, and there are a lot. This far into the show, almost every scene, they're repeating something. Like, you could go back and find a parallel to what you're looking at somewhere in the history of Fear the Walking Dead. And I think they do it on purpose. They know that they have crazy psycho fans like us, and we are watching it frame by frame.
That's why I almost didn't like JD, because it was too gratuitous, shooting pot shots at fans and saying, "Hey,
okay.
you like this shit? You like this shit? Here's a lot of it. Here's a machine gun of it." And I'm like, it works, but it feels good when you have to struggle to find it. It also feels a little bit more meaningful. Like, I'm not saying,
I get that.
I want to backpedal a little bit. I want to say it wasn't bad. It did. The good thing about those Easter eggs that Aisha Tyler gave you, and I think this was an Aisha Tyler thing. She was very passionate about it. The things that she inserted weren't reaches. They weren't over your head. They were very simple, easy to pick up. And again, I'm not going to criticize. I said maybe it's more that I prefer when they're a little harder to spot. Like if you didn't look twice, you missed it. And there were some of them that were like that, like the Negan Walker. I totally didn't know was that until like which is
never would have caught it unless she pointed it out. Yeah.
Oh, that's what that's meant to be. Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have seen that. I prefer it even like when it's open to interpretation. It's hard to spot. It's like, oh wait, what's that eagle in the sky? Because then we can actually take credit for, like, even if it was never intended to be that thing, we'd be like, yeah, that means that. And a lot. Did you guys think about that? No, you didn't. Oh, it's only us. Okay, we're smart. Smart. I worry about that. I've actually been thinking about this. This is probably another one of drug-addled like things that I was thinking about while I was in general anesthesia. It's like the only holdover that stayed with us since we started the podcast, and I worry sometimes when we bring up things like this. It's one of those things where, oh, look how smart we are, show. And I wonder, I don't want to leave the impression, because obviously we laugh a lot too. So that's another thing. But like, I don't want to leave people with the impression that like, oh, they think they're so smart, or they think they're so clever. I'm like, no, I'm just trying. I'm just trying to flex a muscle. I'm pointing some things out so that I don't feel crazy. I'm wondering if people see what I see. Or you see what I see. At the very least, it's just the me and you show, or the me and Charity interaction.
I think it's cool when you point things out like that, especially when it's things that I don't notice, because then I'm like, I get excited to go back and catch it again. But furthermore, I think people who watch the show and pick up on these things, you know, the more they listen to our show and what you and I and Charity pay attention to, every time they watch an episode, they're going to be looking for those things too. So we may even be creating more observant viewers, right?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, well, and I also want people to learn something along the way too. Like, I don't want people to walk away.
You guys do that for me. You know, when you guys point things out, and I'm like, oh, and then the next episode, I'll be looking for something like that. You know, whatever it was that you pointed out, I'm like, oh, last episode it was, you know, something like this, so I'm going to look for that in this episode. Yeah.
I mean, and the key here is that we try not to retread over things like Talking Dead does. At the very least, we try not to retread over their shit. Mm-hmm. But also, we don't try to pluck that low hanging fruit unless we want to add to that conversation. Like say, oh, that's really, who cares? Or we want to say, oh, so profound. Or and not to make fun of it seriously, but like sort of saying it's almost to say, oh, that's good, but like we can't. It's so obvious that we can't talk about it, or it's been talked about way too much. Like it's not worth us picking over. Like otherwise, we would be doing exactly what I spoke to you offline about earlier. It was like, why are you pretending like you didn't see the next episode, or why didn't you? Why are you pretending like you don't know this fact, like, or that you thought of? This is the thing that drives me fucking insane. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say this out loud, but for every single person who has heard a fact or saw somebody else write about a fact that they found or an Easter egg or something like that and they don't mean to do this. I know they don't mean to do this, but pass it off as their own. I'm going to say this out loud, and if somebody thinks that I'm talking about them, it's not to be accusatory, but I want you to think about this. Even if you create a meme or art and it's inspired by something somebody said, it's always a good idea to mention that. Let's just say on the cool factor, it lends a story to what you're trying to accomplish. Like whether it's art, whether it's a meme, whether it's even like, I don't know, spoken word or like a fan fiction or something. Like, oh, this is inspired by a conversation with my friend and I.
Yeah,
it adds a story to it, right? But at the very least, on a decent human being sort of level, if you get this idea from somebody, just add that to the thing so that when your friend sees that thing, they, first of all, it feels good to be recognized and credited. But let's just say a rando picks up a fact, and this is usually the case. A rando picks up a fact or goes to Pinterest, picks up an image, and it's art. Credit that person's art. Even if you don't know what it is, don't start passing this shit off as your own. Just credit it. If you don't know what it is, don't even post it. Try to find out where it came from. If it was a news article, they usually credit those things. You know, if it's Pinterest, get a Pinterest account and find out the original source, because Pinterest is just a board of things that exist on the internet. They don't exist on their own. So it's just my little plea to everybody. Even if it's just an idea, please credit the source, because you don't want to be that asshole that's walking around the internet saying, oh, I thought this original thought and I'm so clever. That's why. And the whole reason for my spiel is that, like, when we talk about these things, if we have to bring in somebody else to validate us or to talk about a subject, say, for example, Brian Castrillo being 100% right, 100, almost like 1,000% right about his theory about the submarine crew being part of the Enders. And especially, I say 1,000% because when you and me were saying, it doesn't seem like Riley, it seemed like a surfer dude. Just didn't seem like an officer. No, he's the fucking weapons
officer.
master. Weapons master officer.
Weapons officer, yeah. I personally told Brian, way to call that out too. Yeah, you did it, man.
He's gonna see it at the reaction video. Oh, he's gonna see in the reaction video. To further the point, 1,000% right. Not just about Riley being the weapons officer, right? Riley, and I was racking my brain. Why? What happened to these guys? 150 like dead, walking around this thing. Well, mostly dead. Some of them were dead. It was Riley.
Don't you think he had a handful of people with him, though? I only say that because Brian had mentioned the group of guys that were sort of with Riley and how they held their weapons. So Riley and a handful of other sailors probably did all of that.
Yeah, a handful of them were with him. He's like, who's with me? Okay, and let me paint the scenario for you so I can credit my own idea. Let me put this thing on the back. There we go, David.
Good job.
Just so everybody knows, I'm not on the internet, or I should be, but I'm not on the internet half as much as I should be researching some of this stuff, and especially this episode. Well, let me put it this way: when I say researching this stuff, I mean people creating articles, speculating about what this could be, theory videos, stuff like that. I should be looking into this more so I could bring people in and credit people where credit is due. This is just off the top of my head. I wanted to do a little bit more research about the U.S.S. Pennsylvania, which is an actual ship in operation, which with the same exact ship code or ship designation. I forget what it's called, the SSBN 735. It's in the photo of Riley with short hair.
I see. Yeah.
The shirt he's wearing is SSBN 735, I think it was. That is the designation of the U.S.S. Pennsylvania, which does exist.
Nice.
It does exist. And SSBN is submersible ship ballistics nuclear. Ooh. So it's literally, that's what the designation is, and that's what that means. It is a nuclear-powered, nuclear-firing ship. I wanted to do a little bit more research on the U.S.S. Pennsylvania. Point is, you're right. He did bring in people to do this. It turns out it's very, very possible that sub was meant to be a fail-safe measure in case certain outbreaks went out of control. Now, knowing that there was no possible way to control this outbreak, Riley's probably right. It probably lent the most amount of people that were able to survive, because if they started taking out heavily populated areas, what would have happened? Let me just shortcut to the end. We probably wouldn't have Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
By the way, you're talking about heavily populated areas. Yeah, can a nuclear missile head from Galveston to LA? You bet your ass it can. I'm just taking this idea and running with it because, there wouldn't be no Fear the Walking Dead if Riley didn't do what he did. What did he do? Yeah, he handcuffed the people to the people that were probably with the commanding officers with trying to do that attack. That he was trying to stop a massacre, a genocide of living people in a city controlled probably by the dead. And he wanted to give them a chance. Why? Because he has this girl in the photo, probably. I just think it's a really cool idea to spin that yarn because he says it out loud. I've seen what it takes to stop this sort of thing. No, they don't have what it takes.
They don't have what it takes, yeah.
But this also takes me to the whole, and Charity's going to help me a lot here. I'm admitting this right now. The whole Lost reference. The fans in this nuclear sub were very reminiscent of the Dharma Initiative logo from Lost. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was also kind of prescient because the Dharma Initiative did have a submarine that would go back and forth from the actual world to this J.J. Abrams world. And it was taken over by the others. Obviously, I was going to say later on, but chronologically later on, but from the start of the series or beginning of the series. The only other fact that I know about that was the sub in Lost was called the Galaga after the video game, literally, because that's all they would play between takes.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's kind of awesome.
The only reason. There's no etymology reason. Just it's the video game they played, and that was it.
I like that though.
Other than that, I thought it was a cute nod, but this is one of those questions that I feel like I need to write down and ask Nick Bernardone. This idea of what was the significance to him about bringing in this Lost reference? How did that play into the episode?
I mean, was it a conscious thing, or was it just the shape of the fan?
It was literally the grating on the fan, and the fact that it was a submarine. Right. I mean, the submarine would shuttle people to the Dharma Initiative, etc.
I don't know if they're even aware of that connection until Sharon pointed it out.
I don't know. It's a very odd fan shape to have, and also it had the little middle markings of the Dharma Initiative logo too.
Sharon sent it to Michael Sadrzimis, and he responded, "You're freaking me out."
About the reference?
The meme that she made, the Foursquare meme that she made with the thing that we're talking about.
Let me go back and explain the first one we saw. Sharon showed me this one during the Dave React. It's the Foursquare one, but the top two are next to each other. The left one is Riley, and then it looks like he's typing in the codes that Desmond Hume was typing in, and I think it was a man from Tallahassee, the 4, 8, 15, 16, the Fibonacci sequence that he had to type in every day. And I think he spelled it wrong, too. I think it was 4, 8, 16. Anyway, so, and of course he did it wrong. So of course there's a nuclear explosion in the bottom panel. Sorry, the audio listeners have to know what this is. And then in the bottom it says lost. So that's what she showed me. I laughed and almost pissed my pants. I don't know if this was during the watch party or she just sent it to me, or I may have just run across it. Obviously I hearted it just so for proof of life. So she did a meme that says Dakota Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. And obviously that's a reference to Dr. Strangelove. And it shows, instead of the dude riding the nuclear weapon from the sky, it's Dakota with her little hat waving in the air. Woo-hoo. I love that one. So show me the right Foursquare.
That one.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I did see that. And Proof of Life. I did like it. I did like it, Charity. Don't hate me. Okay. So on the top left, it shows the soldier that's cuffed to that fan. And in the next panel, top right quadrant, is the fan itself. And it looks like the Dharma Initiative logo. Bottom left, it shows the Dharma Initiative logo. And on the bottom right, it shows Dharma from Dharma and Greg.
It's
AKA
all
Jenna
connected.
Wow, did you enjoy that? Because now that's going to go on the blog, all of it. You're welcome, Sharon. It's like every week is another meme I post on the blog from Sharon. Do you even read the blogs? Do you even appreciate what I do for you at all? I don't know. My heart.
Wait, is that what I do?
So
do I do that? Is that what I do the notes for? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I do that.
Sometimes you even mention Sharon.
Read my work, damn it.
I read it and then some.
Read it and then read it again, and then take notes on my notes.
I got notes on notes. Okay. Hey, Rachel, what were your impressions of this episode?
Well,
we kind of touched on that a little bit before. I don't think we got to finish that conversation.
This episode had a lot of good moments.
They're in there somewhere.
They're in there somewhere. You had to dig around for them a little bit, but I just still am so angry about Morgan's scene. About not even what Strand did to Morgan. I mean, yeah, sure, that's very Strandish behavior. I'm not surprised by that at all. I'm mad about what came after. We all knew he was going to survive. I wasn't worried.
Sharon and me are the only ones that were kind of like, maybe not.
Right. I wasn't worried.
Maybe.
I knew he was going to get out of it. I just was like, okay, how's he going to get out of it? And of course, he shows up in the next scene and he takes out Dakota and I'm like, see, there he is. Everything's fine. But what I didn't like is he stepped into the room perfectly clean.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this.
I mean, his clothes weren't torn. There wasn't a drop of blood on him anywhere from having to kill all these walkers.
Let's stop here because there's other things that I wanted to bring up to further add to the bones you're trying to pick right now, which is along the same vein. And I want to look into what the deeper point is, but let me start with something that they mentioned, of course, having the hindsight of watching this episode at least one more time. I haven't had a chance to watch it since we did our Dave Reacts.
Oh, wow.
But here's the thing. I edit the Dave React, so I kind of watch it during the process.
Yeah.
Extensively. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously I'm looking for something else, so I don't really absorb it. When I watched it again today, I did. The thing that Morgan mentions to the crew, he says, I know what it takes to get by them, meaning referencing the first episode. He's like, oh, I obviously smell like a dead person. I can get past them. Now, you find out later on that was bullshit because it's true. Of course, you have to use the truth to execute a good lie. His thing was he finally admits the victor at the end. I didn't tell you why I felt like I needed to sacrifice myself, because he effectively says this, is that because I sacrificed the key that enabled Teddy to shoot to fire the nuclear missiles. He could not say it out loud because he did not want to impugn Grace. He really wanted her. He didn't want people to blame Grace in her grief, in her moment. He needed that sacrifice to mean something. And I wish that moment had a little bit more punch. this has happened in The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead occasionally here and there, where like moments like that needed a little bit more for all the holding back and not telling people why he's willing to hurt himself or kill himself in order to further a cause. This was the reason, and the reason lacked punch. Going back to your bone to pick, important, meaningful things that should have been blown up a little bit better in the show. Let's put that aside. Let's continue shitting on the show. I'm kidding, but you're absolutely 100% right. It makes me suspicious. It makes me wonder if that's purposeful. Obviously, my first thought, and then I rule it out. And then it also makes me wonder. Well, let me add my thing. We'll go back to your thing because my thing is stupid. But like, it's the same thing with the walkers that we find on the sub. Most of them, if they're not dead if they're not permanently dead, meaning like inactive, like not undead, right, they're walking around and they're walking around clean, effectively. And that really bugged me because they're dead and they've been dead for a number of years. They should be gross on the clothes in some ways, like at least at the neckline,
dusty,
like where things kind of just
like
ooze. They were. I did notice a little bit of dust, but even then, I that was the only thing I actually thought had cover. Because if you think about it, this sub has scrubbers. It's got an air filtration system in case radiation does leak or whatever, keeps it inside the sub rather than outside the sub. I was thinking, okay, you can make an excuse for that. The dust may not be collecting because there's no air that's. I don't know how dust works. Let me just say that much. I don't know how to. There's no windows to open on a sub. There's no way for pollen to get in or insects to get in and all that stuff. So I thought about that. But the gross shit coming off their faces and things. Maybe I don't know enough about walkers in a. It's not a vacuum tube, but it's something. I don't know. Going back to your thing, yeah, totally. That's weird. That is very weird.
Yeah, and
I mean, unless he's just that good.
And furthermore, I am irritated about this, but I will get over this. We're never gonna find out how he got out of that situation. At least with Glenn when he slipped under the dumpster.
You don't think?
No.
Oh, shit.
No, I don't think they're ever gonna tell us how Morgan got out of that situation.
Let's make something very clear. This is something that I also needed you to remind me of to talk about. You had mentioned that, and this is something I hopefully will bring up and come back to this point. You had mentioned that you and Sharon had watched the season finale because it was available in other markets. Because of our Memorial Day, AMC delayed 15 and 16 for the following weeks. I think it was Fox Entertainment, which controls it's a huge entertainment conglomerate that distributes AMC properties to like Turkey, to Spain, to England, to Australia and New Zealand. And they actually continued airing 15, 16, the week after 14, etc. So they didn't have that skip. So people last week got 15, people this week got the season finale immediately after it aired. I think it was on Monday morning, I want to say. Monday noon. You, among those people, know what the season finale looks like. So when you say something like, we will never know what happened to Morgan, you have that context when you make that statement. Because again, trying not to lie about what we know and what we I don't know. You don't have to say anything else, but I feel like from what you just said, whether he lives, dies, this or that or the other thing, it just doesn't matter. We're not going to know what happened because maybe to the show effectively it doesn't really matter, considering maybe the outcomes or if there is even an outcome.
I suppose, but this to me was less convincing than Glenn's scene with Nicholas. When everybody thought Glenn had died, I wasn't scared for Glenn in that moment either because he had Nicholas with him, and I watched him pull Nicholas on top of him. So I was convinced of what had happened, and then they just showed me I was right, and I'm like, okay, cool. But with Morgan, like, it was just him. There was nobody else to like take the bites.
Fall on him.
There was no one there to protect him. And they those walkers, every single one of them had a hand on him. All of them.
Oh, you know who it was? You know what it was?
Don't say Madison.
No, but that's a better answer, actually. I said it in the reaction video. I said, oh, Dwayne Jones. Dwayne Jones confirmed. Yeah. It was the body of Dwayne Jones. Oh, that would be awesome. Can we get a fan fiction writer to write that really likes Dwayne Jones?
Dwayne was on the sub and saved him?
Yeah, and he had died. Yeah. Meanwhile, he died, practically just after the apocalypse.
So the running joke that we have, Sharon D and you and I, is that Morgan activated his death stink when he was being attacked and had just shot off a cloud of walker smell and all the walkers just went, oh, you're one of us. Okay, and then they just quietly walked away from him. You're like
super one of us.
To me, I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense, right?
Well, that's what I was saying before. I was like, oh, he knows how to get past. I'm like, that's bullshit. He does not have.
He doesn't.
It's been months.
Yeah.
If he had sepsis, he'd be dead right now. Like after. By the way, you're talking about if we're counting the months, we're talking about like at least, I want to say at least 6 months, because it's no 8 months.
I think 8. Yeah, sounds better because we were.
I'm sorry, I don't know math. It's 7 months because it was 2 months after we lost track of Grace and she was finding out that she was pregnant. So give a little 2 weeks lead from the time she finds out she's pregnant, and then the month and a half we lose track of her. In the first time we see Morgan after he was shot in the water,
which was another 5
tower.
weeks after season 5.
5. Yeah, exactly. 5 or 6, 5 or even 6, whatever it is. 7 months of sepsis. Yeah. You wouldn't last 7 hours. No. I don't know. I'm kidding. Like 7 days. 7 days. I'll give him 7 days to live. We'll use Hollywood metrics. So yeah. I'm just being
Morgan. Yeah,
practical.
Morgan he's been annoying the piss out of me for a while, and this episode he just annoyed me even further.
Is it Morgan or is it what happens?
No,
to
it's
him?
Morgan. It's Morgan. I don't.
Okay.
I don't like this. I have to take on everything attitude. I don't like this everything's my fault attitude. I don't like that. I feel like he's throwing himself a pity party, and I'm not attending.
Let's use the silver lining first because it'll front load all the frustrations we have in the back end. I wrote in my notes that just like he did with Alicia, when Victor says just live, first of all, he's not wrong. It's like, oh shit, man, for all the frustration we have towards Victor near the ending section, he delivers some incredibly apt whoppers to Morgan. Just like you, as much as Victor was you, Rachel. I am frustrated with you, dude. You told us to just live. You're fucking lying. What is the deal, Morgan? Why are you going after him yourself?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
What?
Oh, yeah. Tell us more about that.
Huh? Why do you have to do it?
Normally, you just on TWD, you just walk off into the sunset. No. This is Fear the Walking Dead, bitch. And I'm an original character, so you gotta answer me.
You're on my show
that's
now.
That's another thing. You're on my show, bitch.
That's right.
Let me insert this parallel quickly before we move on. But Morgan is doing exactly what John Dorie Sr. did.
Oh,
trying to get Teddy at all costs.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of living and being there for this is the thing I thought in my dream state. Sorry, but it was crazy, right? Like Morgan just flowed into John Dorie's. Holy shit! That's so right, Dave. You're right, Dave. Where's our wisdom tooth? I don't know, Dave. Anyway, so
Dave.
Yeah, okay, Dave. Whoa, everything's trippy. Anyway, instead of living and being there just for his friends, allowing them to be there for him, he is driven to sacrifice for them because he feels he owes them. And it's different than John Dorie Sr., but it's not undifferent. But the silver lining is that just like in TWD World Beyond, he learns fast. Well, it took him a couple of years, didn't it? Morgan listens to Victor like he did with Alicia eventually. And that is the takeaway. But even though he keeps doing this, I think that was the last moment where he stopped frustrating us before Victor starts frustrating us. It's actually perfectly timed too. The moment Morgan accepts Victor as being right is the moment Victor takes this opportunity to be the right one, to be the savior. This is something that I've said over and over again to you particularly because you kept assuming, oh God, we're not both wrong. We're not both wrong. Isn't that crazy? That's the Queen's Gambit again. This is what I was predicting. Okay, what is the move? The move is this. I kept telling you, no, he's doing it for everyone. He's definitely not doing it for himself. He's doing it for everyone. However, you are 100% right that he's doing it. He wants to take all the credit. And I listened to you. I said, oh, I know. Because what is he doing? The same thing motherfucking Teddy's doing. Information control. He says, I want to be the one to do it. Listen, you probably hated the conflict between Morgan and Victor. There were some nuggets in there. Like you loved the idea that the conflict existed, but like part of you is like, why is this so fucking complicated? Why is this happening?
I just wish Strand could admit that he's a bad guy. Just fall into your role.
Right.
I've been saying that for a long
who were you
time.
saying about that recently?
Well, Dakota too.
And what did she do this episode? She listened. Oh my God, they're listening to Squawking It. No, they're not. We just thought about this last week. They had this in the can 2 months ago. Anyway, so. But you said last week Dakota should just lean in, go full evil, right? Be the stranger, be Albert Camus.
And she
right?
did.
Thank goodness for small favors.
You might have missed it if you just watched it the one time. I hope you caught it when you were editing, but when Dakota says to Strand, she's talking over the walkie, and she says, do you want to be the person that Morgan wants you to be? Did you see Strand's face? And it looked like he had Tourette's. He couldn't keep still. He was like, no. Like, you could see him struggling. No, he does not want to be the person Morgan wants him to be.
Oh, I saw more, and it's funny, if you paid too much attention to Victor. You didn't see everybody else.
Well, it was only Victor. What do you mean?
Having not, oh, no. When she says it, it spends the most time on Victor's face, sure. But as she's saying it, you see other people react to that. I didn't have enough time to note the particulars, but other people were also reacting to her statement as well. You know, the way that Morgan wants to live. Why is it that people, and this again goes to the beginning because we're near the end, aren't we? Mm-hmm. In the beginning, what does Teddy say it takes to both get people to follow you and also to get them to die for a cause or for you? Let's say.
You got to offer them something they want, something to believe in.
And then the two is you got to be willing to die for them or die with them.
Which he's not. Come on.
Who's not?
Strand.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
No,
we were talking about Teddy.
No,
sometimes
he will say. Yeah. That's why he said. I mean, even when him and Morgan are having this conversation, I'm so mad at Strand. Even when him and Morgan are having this conversation in a hallway. I don't know what to call it, like right after they get inside of it. And he says, Alicia asked me.
It's like this junction point.
Alicia asked me, whatever, if I'm doing it for myself or if I'm doing it for everybody. He's like, I'm doing it for everybody. That was my favorite line, not Strand's. My favorite line was what Morgan said. And Strand's like, she needs to know I'm doing it for everybody. And Morgan said it as I was thinking it. Really? I don't believe him. I can't say nobody. I don't believe him.
Oh, no, I 100% believe him.
Okay.
I believe it's so complicated, though. But that's the complaint, right? Yeah. It's so complicated that, like, it's easier to just say, I don't believe you. It's the same thing with Dakota. Yeah. It's easier to not see the nuance that she even explains a lot better on the show. I mean, it's seeing is believing. Like, I can say it based on the evidence that I pick up on the show, but having her say it out loud, saying, not to say that you should sympathize. I'm not saying that at all. That's experience is subjective, believability is subjective. But the fact that she said it out loud, to be mad at Victor is to also be mad at Morgan. And I think that's very important. Yeah. 100%. And I'm not saying permanently, he's on my shit list. Just like I'm never going to say permanently, Victor's on my shit list. He's not on my shit list. No character's permanently on my shit list.
Victor's on my side-eye list.
Yeah, yeah. But like, I have to also keep in mind, this is zombie apocalypse. It is complicated. Things aren't going to be like throw them out of the airlock on the 100. You know what I mean? And even if it is, like, that's their world. Well, yeah, go float yourself. Exactly. So my beef is that they are literally doing the same thing. Victor and Morgan are doing the same thing. Morgan is making the sacrifice for himself on behalf of Grace, not telling people that that's the reason. Eventually he tells Victor that's true. And eventually Victor does tell Morgan. And they are doing the same thing. They're just doing it for different reasons. This is the part I hate the most, because it's not simply because he's doing it because of the glory. You could say that and you would sound like you're 100% right, because that's what we assumed. Oh, he's information hoarding. That's why he's like, you have to see it to believe it. Oh, join me, Alicia, right? No. It's not because of that. Anyway, so Morgan is doing it for an altruistic reason. He's saying, I don't want people to give Grace the side eye for basically destroying a significant portion of humanity that remains. That's a pretty good reason, although frustrating still. But going back to Victor admits, and maybe according to his own logic, it's not really that clear, that he could or had to do things that she / Alicia and Morgan wouldn't. Victor admits that only Morgan can do what's required. And again, he's jealous, because all this time he was trying to do what he knows Morgan can do. Also, he mentions people follow you because they want to, not because they owe you. And how is that significant? Because he feels like he owes Alicia. And I'm not saying he wants to absolve himself. I'm saying he genuinely loves her. Loves her so much. Might be the only
person he actually does love besides himself. I will admit that.
That he's ever loved. Even what's his name? No, yeah. Even what's his name was a shadow of love.
Abigail. I can't think of his first
name. Right. We talked about him the other week when we were talking. It's okay. But you know who I'm talking about.
He didn't even really love
Celia's
him.
son. The one who dies on the bed.
Also, when Strand delivers that line about, people follow you because they want to, not because they owe you something, I also heard if Strand had a following, it would be because they owed him something. I feel like that is the situation
because that's the only way he can get people to follow him. I saved. Yes. Well, not I saved, but I turned things around, or I tried to. This is again another parallel. I tried to turn things around in Lawton myself. I set the whole thing up, and what does Morgan have to go on and do?
He does it better.
Exactly
than me. He won up me.
And exactly. and exactly what Alicia wanted him to do, wanted him to expose the truth in a different way at the Mexican standoff, or just after the Mexican standoff. Oh, we're damaging it from the inside, but not the way you want, Victor. Something to that effect. What essentially it boils down to is like Victor wanted to hand Dakota back so that he can gain a little bit more power, a little bit more trust, a little bit more means to overthrow her. This scene with Victor and Morgan goes back to that moment again. Like, oh, I know you're going to do what it takes. It's something that I can't. So I'm going to be the one to save the day. I owe Alicia that much for all this, for going against her, essentially. Like, for trying to do what I wanted to do to try to get this done. For killing Sanjay. Like, even. Like, that's something that was... I don't want to say hard for him to do, but like it was something that he felt like, again, going back to Morgan.
I was waiting for him to stab Morgan like he did Sanjay.
But this is what I want to hit on next, is because when he's with Dakota, he realizes in that moment, I don't have what it takes, so I'm going to put you down so I can at least get the credit for doing something that I need to do to kill Teddy, let's say, right? Because Morgan could do that. It'll be done. We follow him. We work together. That's fine. The Morgan way, the way Dakota mentions, right? Yeah. But when he's in front of Dakota and the truth can be said out loud, as she's saying to the rest of them, first of all, she mentions that she said Victor killed Morgan, right? Because she saw it happen, right? With the truth laid bare, his sins, he reverts completely. You see this later on when he says, "Oh, so I was fortuitous and with trying to kick you into those people."
Right.
AKA, and they said this in the reaction video. I say, "Oh, so you mean like, you know, what Ginny was trying to convince June of? Like, oh, we're the same. You know, we're mothers. We tried to take right." I don't blame her because her worldview dictates her actions. She was violated as a young person, as an early mother, and she felt like that's what she needed to do. And she rose up and was a badass and created Lawton and all that people. So anyway, I'm not praising her. I'm just saying, wow, crazy. Victor has the same moment with Morgan. He says, and I love that Morgan said this, like silver linings, right? For all the shit that we went through, Morgan saying, "You need to stop." That was so funny. He's like, "Yeah, we'll talk about this later. For now, you're in a timeout."
Yeah, I need bodies right now.
So with Dakota in front of him, Victor just submits. He has nothing. For somebody who always has something to say, he has nothing to say. He can't kill this kid, even to save his own life. Remember what we were talking about with Cole? Cole even is like cornered, completely surrounded. Alicia's got a gun through a body, a living undead body, whatever, an undead body. Like, is that not convincing enough, Cole? And yet Cole still feels the need to raise that shotgun, right? And I noted that because there's something significant about seeing somebody cornered. What do you do when you're cornered? Victor, when cornered. And this makes me feel like he's not as bad as I think, he looks. He's not as bad as he looks. This is like the classic Victor. That should be on his tombstone. I wasn't as bad as I looked. But in that final hour, he submitted. He did not have, it's him admitting to himself, I do not have what it takes. I talk a big game. The only way I know to motivate people is by, and not even that well.
Manipulation. Yeah, he motivates through manipulation. That's all.
It's his old world. Wow, man. For all the fucking shit. And I feel bad sometimes when I talk about John walking into the apocalypse, not changing. I do. Because I like John. I did. The very fact that he could exist makes him significant, right? Victor, in some ways. Like, in other ways, he's learned to become a better person. Fine. It enables you to be you're a better self. The self that you were meant to be, blah, 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 whatever. But was it? We don't know. But in some ways, Victor reverting, stabbing Sanjay and trying to revert to a path that was before him didn't work. He was trying to go back to the old ways, which is the ways that don't work in this world as much. What works in this world? Well, apparently it means promising something that other people want. You didn't do that. You tried to until somebody gave them a better offer, right? Morgan coming out and telling them the truth. And he risked his life. Okay. And then also willing to die. Victor, are you willing to die with these people to commit to that goal? And no, you're not. You don't have what it takes. And I think he realized that humiliatingly in that moment. He can't kill this kid. He can't kill kids, period. I think that's another part of him that he can't
I think he would have no problem killing children. I don't see that
a
problem for him.
Well,
not Dakota here? Anyway. I mean, he's not going to go shooting up any kids, but I don't think he would have a problem shooting Dakota. If Dakota hadn't held up a mirror...
Why didn't he pull a Cole?
Because if Dakota hadn't held up a mirror to him and showed him who he was and called him out, I don't think he would have had a problem killing Dakota. But she told him some truths about himself that he didn't want to hear.
That he listened to.
Yeah. And I think it kind of shook him a little bit. But if she hadn't have done that, I was all right. I'm like, yeah, shoot her. There's someone who will take her out. Yeah, Strand will do it.
I'm in love with what you're saying right now in some ways, but there's always that part of me that's like, but if he is that kind of person, wouldn't he be angry about it? Or do you really, and this is, I'm more challenging you than I am, really, because I know you have said a lot of things about the kind of person that he is. Yeah. But if you're saying that that's the case, that we finally reached a bottom for Victor, then there is a semblance of remorse. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a semblance of, I know that you're not saying Victor is a terrible, horrible human being that is a villain, right? Like, it feels like sometimes when you talk that's the way you make him seem, but I think you don't think that.
No,
really,
I don't.
100%.
I think Strand has the potential to be a villain, but I do truly think that Strand is the type of person who wants to be good. He wants to be good, but it goes against everything in him to make the right choices and do good things. He's
like Dakota.
Yes, he is a villain trying to be a good guy.
What is that a parallel of? Gamma. Specifically Gamma. Because Gamma, all Judith said was, you just didn't find the right people first. Or I just found, whatever it was. Victor found the right people first. Actually, and Victor had the foresight to know, or maybe didn't even know how good of the right people he found. Like, Victor was just looking for survivors or special people. Yeah. People that we find in the Walking Dead universe. But he didn't know what he got when he got the Clarks. Or, as a package. Because he was really in it for Nick. He was like, oh, this guy, oh, I'm following this guy. Like,
he knows what's
what was his name? Yeah, if he had found not Elias. Who was the guy? Madison student?
Tobias?
Tobias.
Yeah.
Elias, Tobias. What's the difference?
Toby!
if he missed Tobias... if he saw Tobias first, I think he would go for Tobias first and be like, "Oh shit, he's all talk like me." Like,
I don't know.
That's how Tobias died. Victor found him first. Got landed in it. Yes, we know now. We know the truth. We know the truth.
I really want Tobias to make a comeback. I want to see that kid again. I want to see that kid again.
I want him to be missing an eye. I want to be exactly like comic book governor.
No, I want him to be like the ruler of some settlement and be like, yeah, I called it. Like, I know what's going on.
Like a horrible ruler.
No.
I want him to be evil. So evil that it's like it's like what Martha should have been. Martha should have been this.
That could be fun. I'm down for evil Toby. Yeah.
His slogan would have been, "I told you, people. I told you. Why didn't you listen to me?"
I told you so.
I kept telling you.
Nobody's listening to me.
Do you not follow me on Twitter at the time? Which is
I called this shit weeks ago.
Yeah, I was like 6 years old. Come on, people.
Tobadison. Sharon says #Tobadison.
Nice. Great way to cap off this conversation. Yeah. Anyway, I'm happy about this conversation. And I know you're not, because why is it so fucking complicated? I want Victor to just be a bad guy. I want Dakota, well, it looks like she is turning into the bad guy. Yeah. Or circumstances be damned. She's leaning in like we both kind of want. Yeah, I was very giddy to see her reach that level. And then Morgan promptly smacking her in the face with a stick. So I was a little giddy. I can admit, like, I don't want her to die still. I'm going to just make that clear for the internet people, so we don't get canceled by something. I don't know. Nobody's going to cancel us. He should have
killed her. I'll say it.
However, it's nice to see a little punishment.
Yeah.
Little smack in the tuchus.
I will say this. I will say this for Strand too. I do talk a lot of shit about kill Strand and kill him off and do all this stuff and everything. But he is much like Virginia, a character that I love to hate. He's that person in the group that you know is always going to cause you trouble. Like, if Strand weren't around, I'd have to find somebody else to dislike. So he can stay as long as, I want to dislike him.
Like whom? Who with the other person that's exactly like this, what you mentioned last week on The Walking Dead? Starts with an N.
Oh, Negan? Yes. Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah. Well,
not quite as bad. Let's just admit, like, not as catastrophically a bad person.
Like, Strand is still, you just need to keep your eye on Strand. You gotta watch him. Like, he will be a team player as long as it suits his needs. Just, keep an eye on him, that's all. Which
is kind of like the baseline of humanity, by the way.
Unfortunately.
I think it's wonderful that we've evolved to appreciate cooperation as a personal survival mechanism. This is something I have learned over time, is that evolutionary biology is so crazy that we're inherently selfish people and fearful people, like lizard brain, right? Sure. However, we've evolved to learn to appreciate our mutual survival as a means for personal survival. It's like that little sweet and then the sour, right? Like the Sour Patch Kid of evolutionary biological concepts. But I love it because it means that maybe millions of years down the line, we invented Christianity. Again, not trying to go into a yarn about how great it is or anything. I'm not Jewish, hello. But this concept about forgiveness, it comes from that desire to put the needs of the many over, or the well-being of the many over the needs of the few. Meaning, if the more we forgive, the greater the whole is, and the more accepting the others of other tribes, let's say, of the stranger, and this is an evolved concept. It's like, oh, well, what if we introduce this concept of forgiveness? If we do that, there'll be less killing, there'll be more well-being. Just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean that they forget about their sins. You know, they still have to live with them. You know, this is something that we didn't account for when we started killing people for simple things like stealing, or more complicated things like murder and self-defense and all that stuff, right? But forgiveness, on the whole, not a bad idea. Okay, let's do that. But anyway, so I just wanted to include that because I want to go back to this comparison, because like when I compare Negan to Victor, sometimes I'm like, it really does put a lot of things into perspective in many senses, right? Because Victor is all about trying to personally survive, which I'm 100% if we had the fortitude and the cleverness and the wherewithal and the charm, we would be doing.
Yeah, I said it to you the other day. I'm like, Strand is the most realistic character. Like, we would all be Strand, looking out for ourselves, right? Because we are inherently selfish and look out for ourselves.
I said that so you could say that.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so So
you said this to me.
We are Strand.
And yet, what is the ethos of Negan? Negan did all the bad things that he did in order to save everybody, or to in his own way. Like, this is what's required, you know, so that everybody could, this is the concept of forgiveness, so that everybody as the whole could survive, or at least my whole, the whole that I create.
I couldn't save my wife, survive. So now I have to save everyone.
Right. That is also a good point that we never really touched on, by the way, when we're talking about here's Negan. And yet, Negan did objectively way more horrible things in order to accomplish that game.
Way worse.
However, like, so you're looking at this yin and yang of Negan and Victor. You know, there's this cowardice on one end of the yin and yang, and then there's a sense of altruism to Negan's actions. He's benefiting from, I would say benefiting in quotes, while other people are suffering from him trying to save people. However, Victor is trying to do it for himself, but not nearly as bad. Not nearly as committed to his own self-survival as Negan is to save everybody else. So it's this weird comparison. So when I think about that, I'm thinking like, well, I mean, I understand Victor a whole lot more. He is not TWD fabulous in that sense, where like he's so extra that's why he survived. He's so extra that's how that happened. No, Victor's us. He's still us. And I get that. And I could identify with that. So now that comparison's out of the way, they shouldn't be like us, is what you told me.
Yeah. Well, better versions of us. You know, that's just what I personally like to see on television, is a better version of me. I want to see someone I can relate to doing things that I don't think I can do. Have that little extra X factor, right? Right. Like, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. I mean, not like. And we're realistic enough to know that we can't do it. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Which is why we watch TV shows about these people doing the things that we will never be able to do.
Right. A lot of it's luck. Let's just put it that way. My mom even told me that today. All those famous people that you see on TV, the Jeff Bezos, the rich Jeff Bezos, a lot of that's luck. Yeah, a lot of that's luck. It was like, yeah, I know, Mom. I'm 42 years old. I know.
Hard work and luck. Yeah.
All those podcasts that get recognized over our own. Luck. Yeah, that's luck. Luck and, just, striking while the iron's hot,
Who sees what,
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Mom. Anyway, so...
At least your mom listens. My mom doesn't even watch our podcast.
Aww.
She doesn't watch the show either, so...
Which isn't... Well, I guess she does kind of listen. Yeah. She'll pop on every now and again when we premiere. But anyway. Yeah, in the beginning it was so sweet, by the way. It would be only her.
Now watching. You're like, I'm sorry, Mom. I apologize. Yeah. You're going to hear me say some things.
That's I wake up and say that every day, and then I forget about it by the end of it. I love you, Mom. And
I'm
at the end of the day, I was like, who are you again? Anyway, so,
who is this?
Like at the end of the day, I'm like, new phone, who this? Oh, hi, Mom. Yeah, I'm going to sleep now. Not true. I'm recording with Rachel right now.
If you tell anybody you're sleeping, they know you're lying because you don't sleep.
Well, tonight I will be sleeping. I have not been sleeping since his tooth. Not been sleeping well since his tooth broke off.
Yeah, I bet not.
So I'm looking forward to it. Let's talk about the opening scene, the opening sequences, because it was very odd. Maybe you can help me out with this one because I didn't see why Morgan was alone in that one instance in the dam.
Stranger yet, and I still don't have an answer to this, is, okay, so we see the group, show up near the submarine in Swati. So we see, Sarah and Rachel and Grace and Raleigh and Rabbi and, everybody's there. But like you said, when Morgan was at the dam, it was empty. And there were a lot more people living there than who we saw at the sub. So where were all those people?
Oh, well, they were at the naval base, supposedly.
Were they?
Well, at least Charlie, Luciana,
Rachel.
Rabbi Kessner.
I thought Rachel went too.
No, Rachel was with the gang.
She didn't go to the naval base?
No, when she stepped out of the car, she had the baby with her and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She was with Sarah and Daniel and all them.
Sarah was driving Swati.
Right.
Everybody showed up together, and then a small group went to the naval base.
Oh, you're right. Oh, which was nearby, right? Am I right?
Right, yes.
Okay. My bad. Well, you saw some
half
logistical...
the mystery, but not where the residents of the dam are.
Well, whatever it was, it must have been much earlier because you do see the shot of him picking up the bow axe from the ground, symbolically saying,
Sheridan's got a good idea. Maybe they're in the caverns. Where Daniel sent Grace when he thought there was a spy. Well, I mean, they weren't in the dam, and the caverns are nearby, so maybe that's where the residents are hanging out, thinking to, maybe avoiding an attack from the Enders. Oh. Here's what I'm picturing. Morgan's talking to everybody. He's going, okay, there's some bad guys out there. We don't know, they got something big planned. They may come here and attack, while we're off trying to stop this crazy shit. So you need to go hide in case people show up here to attack. Morgan and small group go to the sub while the residents of the dam go to the caverns.
So I wrote opening scene is strange. Nobody around but Morgan. Construction lights everywhere. And this is funny because in the reaction video, I noted that at the end sweep, which I love that sweeping shot.
Yeah.
It's like a one take and it goes through the hole and out of it. But I noted, there's construction lights in the fucking danger room with the nukes. And I'm like, did the lighting crew leave that there? And then but now it makes more sense because the construction lights at the dam, they're illustrating that Morgan and, okay, first of all, let's do the higher concept and get it out of the way because I'm not going into it further. Morgan and Teddy are doing the same thing because when Morgan's opening sequence happens, it goes straight to Teddy, Dakota having the conversation, then goes back to Morgan picking up the bow axe, right? You're willing to die with them. He picks up the bow axe. But construction lights at the dam, construction lights at the sub, giving people something that they want. Yeah, the dam. People became a different version of themselves in order to fit the mold. And it almost killed people because Daniel. But people had to... this is something I also mentioned when I was talking about forgiveness. People decided that giving people forgiveness, creating the concept of forgiveness was better for everybody on the whole. So it's all mimicking the same thing. We're trying to be a different version of ourselves to cooperate and have a safe community. Even though it's not honest, even though it's not 100% honest. We're that version of ourselves that can live together, right? But this is the Walking Dead universe. That can't happen. What they're essentially trying to say, and this is like the easiest, biggest parallel that you can ever make about the yin and yang, the end is the beginning, the dark mirror parallel is that, okay, Teddy's doing it because, again, he too is in his own way optimistic or altruistic. Like he wants to create a better world. And he uses his talents to successfully this time around convince people that this is the best way. Morgan isn't trying, and this is something we mentioned in earlier episodes, Morgan's not trying to make people do anything. He does have some rules. He says, you can come, you can go. Just follow this rule while you're here. That's all.
Yep.
I will die for you, sure, if I need to. But the door is open. It's a swinging door. You can come and go. He's giving people something that, even more than just the dam, he's giving people hope. And that's the biggest takeaway. It's not just the dam. People follow you because they want to. It's not because they feel indebted to you or they owe you like Teddy. Like you owe them this bigger world. Like no, they're willing to create it with you. That's what makes a cult
leader.
Yeah.
And they owe them something.
So why is Morgan alone at the dam? Is it symbolism? Is it him abandoning the dream or preparing to abandon the dream?
It did
Now-
feel very much like he was sort of saying goodbye to the place, didn't it?
He was looking at what it took to keep it going.
Yeah.
Like, look at the bullet holes in the front. That was him peeling in to kill those walkers with Swati after Daniel had let them loose. Right. Good to mention, because people would be like, where's
Where's the
that
bullet
from?
holes? Yeah,
And,
Eric asked me.
and
Yeah.
there are people like that. Yep. Oh, that's a good observation too. Oh, Sharon D.
Yep.
You said exactly what I had said at the end of JD. That, okay, what I said there was when June was getting into the car, standing up at the edge of it, looking back at the cabin, John's cabin, she looked at it as though this was going to be the last time I was going to ever see that again. AKA last time I was going to see John ever again. Saying goodbye. She's saying the same thing about Morgan in this moment.
Yeah.
She's like, this may be, well be, the last time I see the dad.
Yeah, that's why I said it felt like a goodbye for Morgan.
Now, it goes a little bit deeper, given what he says at the end of it. Like, it could be specific to the thing he mentions to Victor about Grace, giving up the nuke key for Grace, for the sake of Grace, because it has to mean something. But I just don't want people looking at Grace differently because she did it. I need her to be a part of this future. She deserves it. She's earned it. She saved all of us. I mean, from the nuclear meltdown, she's been through so much. It wouldn't be fair for people to remember her last thing being a huge mistake, possibly. Or actually, if the nukes are in the air. So even more so. And yet Victor's the one who knows it. Which makes me think, by the way, that this is just a side thing, that Victor's days may be numbered.
Wait, Victor knows what?
Victor knows the truth of why Morgan insisted on being the one to go through sacrificing himself to to possibly get the key back. Because then it's him salvaging that mistake.
Victor knows that Morgan gave Riley the key, even though he didn't tell him? Is that what you're saying?
No, Morgan explicitly told him, I gave Riley, that guy in the photo, that key.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
did he say that? He said he's the one who attacked us. But did he say
when Grace
he gave him the key?
Well, and then he finishes up later on saying, that's the reason why I've been doing this, because I'm responsible for giving up the key. Grace is the one who told it, who may be given the key, and I just don't want that mistake to go unnoticed. Yeah. Oh, so so it's piecing together these two conversations to like a Tetris thing where they lock together and they make a full conversation. Yeah, this guy attacked Grace when she was about to give birth, and then this guy has the key with which to use the nukes and stuff, like whatever, you get the idea. Which means when somebody has that information and he's one of those characters that we mentioned, like kind of like Negan, but also kind of like, well, he's a little too complicated now at this point where nobody likes him because of what he tried to do to Morgan, and apparently he's alive now, but now he has information on Morgan and on Grace. So now we're put in the position of maybe Morgan may end Victor because of that information, right? That little bit of information, like, and this is not what I anticipated. I will say this out loud. What was the thing I said that might happen to Morgan is that it might come down to Grace versus everybody else. No, it might come down to just having to put down somebody that has information that could put Grace's status among everybody else in peril.
Well, that would still be Grace versus everybody. I mean, in this case, it's just one person, but that,
but it's the knowledge about
everybody
Grace
category.
But now that's far more compelling than a simple elementary thing that came out of my stupid head. Like, is Morgan willing to kill Victor to be that 17th somebody in order to keep the knowledge of what Grace did safe among her peers? Or is he willing to let Victor walk into the world with this knowledge, have that against him, something that Victor says, I needed to have something against him in order for people to fall in line with me. I needed to have leverage, right? This is Victor's MO. If I have leverage, I have the means of which to con you.
So Victor tells Morgan that he gave Riley the key, right? In any of these discussions or conversations, does he blame Grace? Like, why? I guess why would Victor would have Victor would have no reason to blame Grace.
Well, of course he does. He knows the truth. He knows that the whole reason why they're in this predicament is because Grace was the one who gave the key to Riley. Which with one key they can't do anything, but with the other key,
wait, that was what I just asked though. How does Morgan know? What? How does Victor know that Grace yelled at Morgan to give the key? Morgan's taken the responsibility on himself. He says, I gave him the key. So why would Victor...
I allowed it to happen. Because he had the key on him.
Right.
Morgan had the key on him.
Exactly. So if I'm Victor, I'm blaming Morgan, not Grace.
I guess that's true, too. But I guess the reason why he had to go after the key to begin with, because it's Morgan. Morgan is altruistic. Oh, yeah. It means something that he allowed that moment to happen. Mm-hmm. So he needs to make it count for something. Like he's the specific thing that he says to Victor is, I need to make that mistake or that sacrifice mean something. Her losing the baby at the same time. I need that to mean something. It can't just mean nothing. Her idea or her thought or her thing that I believed in at the moment for her sake. But then Victor can just turn around and say, oh, Grace was responsible for you doing this. Like manipulating him and saying, yeah, you did this because of Grace. I'm going to tell everybody that Grace told you to do this. And then, or something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
It would be a thing that he could potentially do. And Morgan knows
strandish
it.
Behavior.
That's what I mean.
Yep.
Right. The means by which he can gain leverage. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Something that he mentions to Morgan, something's the only way I could get people to do things. Not because they want to, because I make them. Or I make it feel like they have no choice. Yin and yang, baby. Yin and yang. And what's crazy is that we've seen people we've seen Cole. I love that we get to bring him up again, because when Victor admits the truth to Cole, he is rattled, but then he comes back and he says, thank you for telling me that. But I'm following you for you. I like you. This is a big thing that you just mentioned. The pebble in the pocket reminds me of the shitty things I've done. Cole embraces that. Like, you are a human after all, I guess. You can make mistakes and admit to them like a normal human being. It signals a reversion that did not. So we thought Super Strand 3. No, he tried to be. He tried to embrace that past in order to create a better future for the sake of Alicia, right? Mm-hmm. But not himself. So it was a Super Strand 3, but the moment he was found out, you're back down to Super Strand 1. Period. Done. I love it. And you may not, but this is why we do it. So we can just put these on display so that we can actually manage them a lot better.
Like I said, I love to hate him. And if you want to compare him to Negan, he's not that bad.
Right. Well, this is what we have to do to kind of get better perspective, because we're like, oh, fuck that guy. I was like, oh, but he didn't do all this crazy shit. Yeah. Right.
And Coleman does get the best lines. So there's that too. If Victor, if something happened and we didn't have Victor anymore, we would be missing out on all of these amazing lines.
Right. So the same reason as Negan sticking around, that agent of chaos, that potential question mark.
Quotable characters.
Quotable characters that do questionable things.
Yes.
I mean,
that should be a podcast.
Let me write that down. Quotable characters that make questionable decisions. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Sharon, you're absolutely. Sharon saying he's not even as bad as Dwight in that context.
Although Dwight is the perfect amalgam. Thank you, Sharon, of Victor and Negan. He does the things he does for somebody else. Oh, if anybody knows Victor more than anybody now at this moment, it's Dwight. How about that? Oh, yeah. I want a conversation between those two. Woo, we never really got one. Hashtag vegan. Victor and Negan.
Vegan.
You'd have to spell it with an I, though. I think it would have to be Vigan. Just for the sake of...
Otherwise, it's just the word.
I'd see those two together, right? Yeah. Oh, I want a show with that. I want a what if. Oh, I want a what if so bad.
Speaking of rattled, said somebody was rattled before, and it made me think of Senior getting on the radio with Teddy. That was a great scene.
Oh, I love that scene.
Great scene.
Humana, right?
Watching Teddy get shook. Oh, that was so... Oh, I was so excited. I was cheering. I'm like, yeah, get him, Senior.
You know what I like in that too? I don't know if you're gonna be so impressed with this fact, but for all the talk about Alicia being the mother, right, of humanity now, right? Yeah. When John Dory, and this is the only on my second watch that I noticed this, which is only a couple hours ago, John Dory Sr. steamrolled in as if he was his father. And it put everything that John Dory Sr. has been doing into so much perspective, okay? Abandoning his actual son to chase after somebody who's been looking for a father figure. They never mention his father, Teddy's father.
True, yeah.
And it seems like he is the product of a single mother family, right? Never talks about his dad. And I said, think about it. Daddy's home. Daddy, who's been searching for me for years, trying to get this killer for so long. Daddy's finally paying attention to me. And he goes, it's not. And then just like Alexander trying to kill his own father, Alexander the Great, he's like, I don't think this is going to go anything like you think it does, Dad. There's phalluses flying in the air. Come on, people. Read the room.
It's hard to see a father-son dynamic there when they appear to be close in age.
Well,
hard to draw that for me.
But then again, Teddy does have that childlike demeanor.
Yeah.
In his own way, and Senior definitely is the adult in the room. Actually, compared to all of those, both in age and in demeanor, he's like, "Oh, I'm buttoned up, straight laced. I'm gonna get that motherfucker."
Well,
whatever.
He even kind of yells at Morgan and Strand for bickering over. He's like, "You two done chatting? Can we go in there yet?"
Can we kill people? Come on.
Let's go, boys. We're all going in. Come on.
Come on, guys.
Put your coats on. We're going out.
Around. Yeah. Before, as Sharon says, before this guy shoots a dicklier bomb.
Dicklier.
Yeah, it doesn't sound quite right when I say it.
Oh man.
Okay, maybe it does. I don't know. Sorry, I've been finding myself thinking about what you and Sharon had said about that bleached bones set that we find in one of the bonus episodes of The Walking Dead. This was the one with Aaron and Gabe, and I've been thinking about it every single week.
The horse and the rider.
Yeah, and having Strand's band on it. If you watched that episode, or if you didn't watch that episode, we were referring to possibly Strand on horseback being found on one of these episodes, because this is, again, in the past.
Future, yeah. Walking Dead's in the future.
Fear the Walking Dead's at least 5 years, if not more, in the past. Probably 7 at this point, maybe more. But 7 years out in the sun on horseback will do that to you. And I do you find yourself thinking about that more and more often? I don't. I can't.
No.
Just as season 11 keeps ramping up.
You're not thinking that we're going to see Strand on The Walking Dead?
Oh, no. Oh. We've proven that we're definitely not going to see Strand, but we may see the bleached bones of him, of Strand.
Okay. Yeah,
maybe Strand finally goes to Virginia.
Maybe they'll call back to those bones.
Yeah, or there'll be like a Tales of the Walking Dead where Victor makes a break for it. For Virginia, what Morgan was originally going to do with Alicia in season 4, he goes, "Fuck that guy. There's a community out there. I could start over again." And then something happens along the way. And we both know that this is a significant amount of distance away from Alexandria, because they're trying to find places that have shit still. And it was like, was it a 2-week journey? I can't remember exactly, but it was like an absurdly long number of days journey back to Alexandria from where they are now, Aaron and Gabe, where they keep going one more. So anyway, I wanted to just put that out there. If you haven't watched the episode, it was the one, what was it called again? It was called One More.
One More.
Our episode 123, One More, we talked about this thing you brought up, and now it's in my head. It's like this RJ is real thing, right? It's in my head. And then considering the pioneers, quote unquote, we find in Denai's exit episode, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to think, oh, maybe they're just following Victor's footsteps and happen to find I don't know. Where are the nuclear coordinates? Where are they programmed to hit?
My first question would be, do you have to program a target?
It's a good question, because then now you're just challenging us, because it's like, oh, we're not experts in this shit. But
well, yeah, I'm not. So I don't know, like, do you have to have coordinates to put in, or can you just simply launch and then let it just hit anywhere, land let it land wherever?
Well, just from what, I'll say this is where I'm basing my answer from, is that it does obviously have the capability to be guided, right? And from the way Teddy and Riley are talking, and Riley's desire to continue the spread, oh man, wow, okay.
Well, the reason I have that question,
it looks like they had other targets besides. Right. Well, I think I think he's trying to distract them. That's from what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's like, it could be here, but it could be there. He's just trying to get in their head because he wants them to.
From Teddy, yes, I agree. But he asks Riley. Well, he says to Riley, "Why don't you tell them where you programmed to hit?" And then Riley could have just said what he programmed, but instead he's like, "It'll hit wherever, everywhere, anywhere." Like, he doesn't even really seem sure.
Well, it does appear. I did see the opening minutes for the next episode, and he does mention at least. He does mention at least where Alicia is located, which is very interesting. I want to see how that came about. But so you don't have to say anything because I know you've seen it. However, you're right, and you're basing also this off of the next episode. Like, why? How does he know where this will hit to? But I will say this much: I have a feeling he knows where it's supposed to hit. Whether or not that will happen is a whole other story. Because, and notice how I'm pivoting. I will come back to it, though. I did notice one thing, and that was based off of what we see with Victor and Morgan coming across that irradiated walker, who was at least there for 3 days,
cool.
right? But she was at least there for 3 days, as Grace says, right? Because she needed to be there. Why did she need to be there?
Wait, where does the 3 days come in? I don't.
Grace says that in order to perish from that level of nuclear radioactivity, now it could have been longer, but she looked like one of the Enders. She did not wear a uniform. She looked kind of like Alicia, which is besides the point, which is probably feeding
Familiar
into Victor's
pattern.
Yeah, the flower shirt and everything. So, but he looks at her strangely too. It's like, oh, is that? Oh, it's not. But it could have been. Oh, but this is what we're dealing with. Anyway, so my point is that she needed to be there at least for 3 days to perish from the radiation. But the mission being is that she needed to get her irradiated body on the door leading to that missile silo room, etc. In the path leading towards it, right? That's why he was so confused about why the readings were on the door and on the body. Because that walker needed to get its here's the radioactivity everywhere. So just so you know, so now why does that make me think of the guided missile? It makes me think of the guided missile. Why? Because I was thinking to myself, something else Grace said in the beginning. She said, even if the millirems were at 10 when they first came in, they should have been way higher still, right? So that got me thinking, what if some of the nuclear material in these warheads had been leaking? What if they're not nearly as powerful? Some of them may be duds, let's say. Maybe many of them may be duds, considering that none of that radiation made it to the top. What if they all eventually... the containment on these nukes eventually leaked out enough to not make as much of an impact or a reaction at all? Because part of what fission means is that we're splitting these atoms to create a massive explosion, right? We're actually tearing these atoms apart. But what if the nuclear material available is not, it's just not there. It's leaking so far down in the ground that it's only readable near and in and around where the missile silos are. So I'm thinking to myself, it's very possible these are all duds. There's only a harmful amount that's available to humans to be exposed to. And I don't know, that all this together got me to thinking of that. So I haven't seen the next episode. I know what it's going to look like. Don't smile, because then I'll know, oh, maybe I'm right.
No, I'm still thinking about the radiated walker. I'm still confused about that whole section.
Oh, she had to stick around so that she can spread her radioactive material everywhere.
What's the 3 days thing, though? What is that?
Oh, Grace says to Morgan, how long would I need to survive that level of radiation?
Oh, days. Okay.
All right, a minimum of 3 days.
You took that as 3 days. Okay.
Oh, did she? I thought she said minimum of 3 days.
No, she just said, I don't know, days.
I think... Oh, okay. I don't know. I had it in my head, I thought Morgan may have said in response to that 3 days, that seems enough. Because we were also talking about, let's pivot to this too, the possibility of Morgan being bit. See, I'm racing through the points now.
Well, hold on. I still need some clarification here. You're moving too fast for me, bro. This woman showed up to the sub alive, and what was she there to do? Why was she there?
To spread radioactive material on the door specifically in that room.
For what purpose?
To guard it, so that people wouldn't stop his plan.
But everything on the other side is radiated. They would have died anyway.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't necessarily, though. That's the thing. It was just the door. She irradiated the outside so she wouldn't get bit and torn apart by these walkers, right? Think about it. She got irradiated from the other location where the missiles really were, right? She comes back to where technically the straightforward path to the silo room.
So is she an ender or no? I'm still very confused about this whole thing.
She is an ender, one of those hippie enders with her sweatpants and fucking flower shirts. Definitely. Okay, let's just throw that hipster thing out the door.
Yeah.
The reason why I even mention this is because it is a little confusing. Why is it on the body and on the door radioactive, but when Victor takes it and points it at the ladder, it's not at all? Do you know what I mean? It should have been, because that would be the alternate path to get to the silo doors. But I think Riley and Teddy needed that ladder to be available to them so that they can get there.
Okay, I guess.
How genius.
I guess when Morgan was getting all of those readings and Grace said, okay, here's what I saw.
It would have to be inside.
She was telling him that if you're getting those kind of readings outside the door, then it's crazy on the inside. It's exposed on the other side of that door.
Oh no, she was saying that to reach levels this high, the material will have to be in the same room you're in. So of course he's pointing at the body, it's the same levels, but then he points it to the door, it's also the same levels. On the other side of the door, it would be the same levels as well. Yeah. That's kind of what she was saying. But it shouldn't be as high outside the door where they're at. Inside it would have been higher, let's say, but it appears as though whether you're inside or outside the door, it's the same levels, let's say. So it occurred to me that they kept an ender around to smear all her boogery radioactive material to protect this room just so that she can die for this cause. And that's what I'm saying. It has to be that.
I
Because it
guess
doesn't make sense.
I guess I don't understand. I don't understand the purpose of her doing that. That doesn't make sense to me.
To protect the direct route, let's say.
Who's going to go in there anyway with all that exposed radiation? Whether she put it on the outside of the door or not, as soon as they open that door, boom, exposed. They're still dead.
Well, they would probably run through that room, let's say, really quickly. I mean, they would
think
probably
that would matter? Then they could just run past her.
or I don't know, because when he scans the actual room, it wasn't so bad. That's the thing. I think the
once
material,
they got close to the door, he got the 40,000, over 40,000 reading.
Right, but I think because you have to remember, they went over the ladder through the woods to grandmother's house. They go, but then they saw the way back, the straightforward way back in that room with all those proposed walkers that were in their path. And I think at one point he pointed the thing into the room. It was like nothing. There was nothing there. So this lady had radioactive material in the room with her, not on the other side. There's just walkers on the other side. So that's another death trap. But still, it's a death trap you'd survive, possibly. The nuclear, it gives people the impression that if they go through the door, it's going to be very radioactive, right? So the threat was in the room with them. The lady was half the threat. The door is the other half.
I guess that wasn't made very clear because
that's what I'm saying. I had to think about.
I still saw Grace saying, "Okay, if you're getting those readings on this side, then what's on the other side is even worse. So you need to find another way. You can't go in there." And that's when he makes the decision to just do it anyway.
Well, I don't think she knows what's on the other side, but I think she knows that whatever it may be nothing that's on the other side, but whatever's in here is the worst. I think she's saying it's not worth the risk of finding out if it's worse on the other side, right? Because she doesn't know. He doesn't know. I think he's banking on the fact that the worst is in here. And that's why he's like, it's worth the risk. It's straightforward.
Okay.
It's
and I saw the opposite.
I can easily see why you think that. But then it doesn't make
the opposite.
But then it doesn't make sense why the Ender, which is clearly an Ender, why the Ender's in that room. And that it's a
which it doesn't make sense to me anyway.
Okay. Yeah. The only reason why I brought it up is trying to make sense out of it, because it makes sense if you're Teddy.
You tried, but it didn't work.
All right.
Good try.
Well, I bring it to you, fans. Did you get what I was trying to say? I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I just trying to cover for the show that didn't make it clear, which should have? This all fed into why I thought the way I thought. Like, he's just having this person come by and smear the shit all over the place so that people wouldn't go through the direct route, because they could survive that onslaught of subwalkers, let's say. She wants them to think there's something worse on the other side, but there's not. There's just these walkers. So
if somebody had shown up there without a meter thing,
right,
they wouldn't
have known. Right,
they wouldn't have known at all. They would have just went in and tried to stop everything.
Oh, they'd also
and they would have done it too, because it would take days for that radiation to kill anybody.
Which also I thought of, and which leads me to the other theory about everything having leaked, because like Grace said, had that material been stable and present, it would have been all over the sub in various degrees and safe degrees. Like, okay, as long as it's not 10,000, but there should be something. That's why I thought that. I was like, okay, he had to have this material directly in the room to ward off anybody that might have a dosimeter. But here's the thing. My theory was based on the fact that, Teddy knows that, or at least Riley knows. Okay, Riley knows that the sub should have radioactive material all over. And so it makes sense that they don't know what they're not dealing with. You know what I mean? They don't know that this is not going to be as effective a plan as you think it is. Riley, it's been a long time. That's another thing. How long has he been down there, if at all? What did he have to do? What did he think he have to do? I don't know. Anyway, I was just thinking out loud, because we're never going to know that answer. But we do know some answers. Riley, you mass murderer with all your sub people. Is this a thing?
My Riley, the secret hero is falling apart.
Well, and it still does. Okay, so that still doesn't mean that he may not be although I don't know at this point, because Riley had a name. Still doesn't mean that he can't be John Dory's son. Okay, that's not definitive, right? Which makes everything worse. It's like, okay, you killed all these people, and then you felt like you needed to be this other person, right? You needed to be with this family, because this is the second family that's abandoned you.
Yeah.
Or that you felt wasn't worth it, like Dakota.
It kind of makes Riley look a little extra crazy too, right? Because
like Dakota.
Well, yeah. Because okay, let's say he was a troubled boy and he joins the Navy and he becomes a part of this brotherhood, and I mean that's family right there, right? And I know people in the service, and it's a brotherhood. You create a family there, but Riley couldn't even be a part of that family.
Family enough for them to follow him, by the way, because he did gather the few that he needed for this plan.
Yeah, I mean, he got a handful of them, but I mean, the rest of the crew, Riley couldn't even fit into that family. He had to kill everybody.
I'm not ready to say that. I am willing to say, like, it's because it's a hard ask. You're talking about what it takes to be a serviceman. I'm not saying like a Marine. Okay, we're not going to go down that route. There's Marines and there's Green Berets. These are the hardest parts of the military to join. But even at the basic Navy level, you need a certain amount of PE, a certain amount of dedication. You will wash out if you're not good enough. Everyone except Walter. Yeah, Walter was dedicated to. Poor Walter. Salutes. Anyway, so as Sharon D says, by the way. But I will say this, but he was part of that original coup. Just so you know, he's a part of Riley's original coup. Walter was bothered enough. Yeah, Walter was bothered enough, bothered and trusted enough to have the other sub key.
Or he could have swiped it. I feel like Walter could have seen what Riley and the other kids were doing and just hightailed it the fuck out of there with the key.
Okay. Well, no, because they know. Maybe. It just seems he had the brown jacket similar to the other Enders. I know it sounds so weird, but like, he was dressed similarly to them. So I think to myself, they know enough about where he is, which means they know enough to know how to find him. You could be right. It just sounds better that way. He says, I did all this to not just join a cult that wanted to do the same exact thing that the Marines were going to, the Navy was going to do. I don't want to join the very thing that wants to do the same thing that how fucking psychotic dumb is that? Why are you joining this cult? What, because they have a better messaging? It's like a better health program? Come on, man.
What, they got dental?
But no, really, really think about this. Now I'm confronted with this decision. Like Riley literally is doing the thing that he was told to do in the Marines. Or sorry, not the Marines, the Navy. He was told, okay, let's hit these targets so that they're not as bad, so the population doesn't suffer. And he said no. And he gathered his crew and he massacred the lot of them. And he stopped this plan from occurring. That's what he specifically said to set Teddy. He had to stop this plan from occurring. But what? Then he goes and joins Teddy and decides to do it anyway for people who are trying to rebuild humanity. Specifically, you could judge them on how they're doing it all you want. But they're doing it, and in a world of scarcity and zombie apocalypse, that's just bullshit. Like, Riley is so much worse than the Marines in that respect. Like, you were trying to stamp out the last bit of hope. Oh, they're awful and evil? Well, I mean, of course he's not thinking rationally. Right, okay. But I'm just saying out loud. Think about what you were trying to do. Walker's falling down ladders was a hilarious break from what was happening.
Yeah, that was a good point. I thought the walker that had the spine coming out of his back, that was so cool. That was so cool.
Which contrasts to the way Walkers generally looked on the sub was kind of, and okay, let's give them some slack, COVID. It was kind of disappointing, right? I wanted you to weigh in on that a little bit because I'm not really the makeup and gore expert or whatever.
The way the walkers?
They generally looked more disappointing. Like they look like, I'm going to say this out loud. You tell me, you fix me and you say why that could be. But no, but they looked like they were wearing really good Halloween masks. Am I not mistaken? Do you feel that?
No.
Yeah?
Yeah. There were a few close-up shots of the walkers, and there was one in particular that was walking down a hallway, and he did like one of these things, and when he opened his mouth, I don't know if the prosthetic was built that way, but it appeared to sort of flare out
okay,
a little bit at his cheeks, and that was the only one that I was kind of like, ooh, he's got a lot going on there. Yeah, but again, being in this submarine that's contained, I don't know how the skin is gonna change in that sort of atmosphere.
Hey, look, you're doing the me thing right there. Oh, I like it. and I mentioned it before too. I don't know how whatever the conditions of the air and the movement, is there dust, is there not dust? I guess so. I don't know, but it's just the impression.
If it were sealed, do you think they would have like mummified?
No, I mean there's still air.
From where though?
Oh,
like,
you
if it
know
was all
what?
Sealed up until they. I don't.
You know. Let's really, really think about that for a little while, because you'd have to do a couple of things in terms of math. Okay, we're not going to do them, but what I will say is, when Riley left, it's obvious to me that he cut off the power, or the power turned off, or they bought just enough gas to turn the power on, whatever it is. He left, doors are closed, eventually the power goes off, maybe a couple of years later, maybe not even that long. And what happens? The scrubbers are turned off. The fans that we saw, the Dharma Initiative fans turned off. So that means the scrubbers aren't working. The air isn't working. Air is not flowing. So these dead bodies are trapped in here with whatever air is left. There is enough air to last quite a while. I'd have to assume it's a huge sub. So how long, right, would it take for that air to either dwindle and escape? Would it escape? Whatever air is left is going to suck because it's mingled with this stench. But it's still air. It's still oxygen, right? Unless metal will get more corroded if there is any steel in there. The metal will oxidize the oxygen will oxidize the metal. Say, like, it would be something oxate. Okay, I forget what rust is called. So that might get eaten up by the metal. What else might eat up the air? Okay, I don't know. Heat, supercharge the air, causing the particles to bounce and separate.
Yeah, heat. That thing's a big tin can.
Maybe.
Texas had to get really hot in there.
Maybe. So I'm just thinking, okay, how long would the air take to dissipate? Fine. Okay, so then maybe as a result, and maybe the flesh even uses the air on the surface of things, I don't know, but after a while there wouldn't be air. There's definitely no air movement, right? So they would desiccate. They didn't look desiccated though, right? They looked just kind of, again, impression. They just look kind of like Halloween masks, like really, really good Halloween masks, but
yeah,
Halloween masks.
That might be well, no, their mouths are still open. I was gonna say that might be a really good thing though, because then the walkers could wear masks underneath the prosthetics, and then everybody would be safer. But yeah, they had their mouths open.
Yeah, Sharon D said they would be leathery. I guess they would be a little bit more juicy, I guess, because they're not exposed to the elements, let's say, or the sun, let's say, which would turn them into like more mummy walkers, like Grace saw in her dream.
Well, that's why I wondered if they would be sort of mummified in a sealed container, like
yeah.
Riley had closed the top and everything was sealed in there. They would just sort of mummify.
Right, and they have no. Yeah, you might be onto something. I guess it's hard to kind of figure out what that would look like too, unless they went back in time to some sub incidents where they unearthed the submarine and all the guys in there had the air that was left looked like this. Oh, anyway, so tell them Marge sent you. Anyway, so Sharon is also lightly microwaved. Oh well, actually, yeah, because of the communications grid, maybe, or the inter-sub communications. Oh, maybe. And the firing mechanisms and all that stuff that, whatever. Yeah. The Faraday cage that's inside. Talk about Dharma Initiative Faraday cage. That is the sub, which would mean that communications wouldn't be able to leave. Which explains the interference. It's not interference. It's literally that the sub is a Faraday cage. It cannot communicate past the door.
Mm-hmm. Which is why Grace has to go back up the ladder.
Yeah, all the radio waves would bounce off the walls and stuff. Hey, we're solving science. We're doing the science. I noted that the number 150 officers, undead officers or dead, reminds us of season 4 because one of the things that was kind of cool was having the little walker numbers on top of silos, on top of trailers, and top of other things to indicate how much was in there. I thought it was a kind of cool, like if you didn't really register it, it's there. The vultures are back. We never got to this because you wanted to talk about something else, but what locations do you think are programmed into the programmable nuke warheads? If you had to guess even, just what do you think?
Well, honestly, my gut says it's random, but if I had to take a guess, I'm going to guess Riley is going to send them back to the area that they're in, because the whole idea is they are the end. If the idea is that they are the end, then then it has to hit them. Well,
I think it's in addition to, if we are talking about specific spots. I had 2 definite locations. I'll say one is more definite than the other. One, you would think I would say Ginny's locations, right? Ginny's franchises.
The ones they know of, sure. Yeah.
Which was around 10. Okay, maybe. However, I'm going to say what's more definite, and it may be that the nuke that never went off, which is ironic, but I'd say more definite would be the CRM locations. They decoded the maps enough. They do have
the maps.
Right, to know what to hit. So it makes more sense that would be the one that they would definitely hit, because these motherfuckers, they
gotta know how dangerous they are too, right? Because they came across a soldier, so they've got to know what they're capable of. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, the maps indicate how big of an operation they are. And hey, you want to talk about, okay. You want to talk about yin and yangs and parallels? The light of the world, destruction of the world. But yeah, Walking Dead World Beyond is all about, we are the light of the world. Campus Colony was a threat. We had to get rid of them. Well, in a karma or dharma way, and technically it is dharma. when you reap the rewards in this world, it's dharma, technically. But having Teddy take out the CRM for the actions or the future actions of, I don't know. See, that's the thing. It's in the past. Oh, we just solved a problem. It can't be the CRM. This is why I said the second nuke may have been the CRM's saving grace. Oh, right? Okay.
Right, because we've seen CRM in the future.
Now, it could be that the targets that they hit are targets that aren't the home base. It was not Philadelphia, let's say, because I think we narrowed it down to Philadelphia, Philadelphia being the home base, the 200,000+ strong.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, so it may be other things, and maybe the impetus...
Not New York?
Not New York. Well, that's the facility that what's his name is in, but not the main Philly place.
Community or whatever. Okay.
That Hope is hopping. Now, here's the thing: the impetus of the CRM being even more proactive in taking out their targets may have been due to this incident. So it's possible. It's possible that was the reason. Okay, so keep it in the mind. I'm willing to say that it never did happen, and it will happen possibly to Ginny's sites, because it was about 10 franchises. I want to say more or less, plus or minus the dam, plus or minus what other things are there? Oh, the office tower, maybe, because they may still think they're there. I don't know. Any other places on the death map? The death mural that they have. So, yeah, plus or minus any of those. Yeah. So that makes sense to me. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that it's just probable, highly probable, just given the number. Yeah. And now, the obvious question that we can ask that we may be able to get closer to is, does Teddy know where the dam is located? Or is he just trying to get into Morgan's head? Like, oh, no, don't go to that place. If I tell you that we're going to bomb that place, you'll want to go there to be safe. So I'm going to tell you that I am hitting that place. You'll never go there. So... yeah, you'll die too.
Yeah. I'm willing to believe that Teddy just knows everything.
Oh,
Somehow, Teddy just strikes me as the man who has all the answers, right?
Oh, no. You know how he does know where that place is?
This is going to be my next question.
If Dakota is full tilt into these guys, full tilt.
Yeah, she knows where it is.
Now, that's the answer. He knows from Dakota. However, which is maybe the 10th code, let's say, that he gets out of this conversation. Dakota. And of course, yeah, even in me saying that is me saying, well, she may be in, but is she all in? Because I thought of this, I don't know if I wrote this down because I have a lot of notes, but as this episode was progressing, I was wondering if at some point, maybe after getting knocked the fuck out by Morgan, if even Teddy was manipulating Dakota to be something she didn't want to be. We keep saying that, oh, my sister wanted me to be something I couldn't be, a shitty person in this lot of bullshit. Essentially, let's say. We could also say that she's a psycho killer. I don't know. It's not, like you said, it's not clear. If we're not willing to grant one thing, we can't grant the other thing. So let's leave that aside. Morgan in the dam, I tried to be this way, but it's clear that they didn't care after I killed John, because of course she doesn't understand the consequences. Now, I did write, Teddy offers Dakota the perfect solution. The world in which she is free to be whatever, what she originally wanted. Not a shitty human like her sister. Sorry, mother, like she said, right? But still in a world filled with consequences, aka one in which she knows she is bad for what she's done, just like Teddy. I liked that neatly wrapping that into a bow. I know what I am. I am Cameo. I'm embracing my role as the villain in the story, and I am going to be punished for it, and I accept that punishment because, yes, I deserve to die. Part of me thinks, with the way that Dakota's acting compared to Teddy, because, again, Dakota doesn't have the years, the mileage, that Teddy does, and the sway and the charm. She's not dumb. She really is not dumb. But she's also dumb because she doesn't understand human... She's a young person. I'm not 100% willing to say she's a sociopath, but she's shaping up to be one because of everything that made up to this moment. But here's the thing. Is Dakota going to start to realize that Teddy's just another one of those people that is manipulating her? Teddy's saying, I'm manipulating you, to her face in the beginning of the episode. And she's falling for it, hook, line, and sinker, even though she's being told, you're just like me, blah, blah. And maybe that's true. Doesn't mean you have to follow him. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is just another person. Now, it may end up being. This is why I'm not ready to go full, okay, the show is showing me that she is, I don't like her, period. I've said this before. And I got satisfaction on my face when she got trounced. Okay. I don't have to prove myself to you people. But I want to say this. I still have that little inkling in the back of my head that says, not that she's going to be redeemed. Like, no, she's not going to be redeemed. I never thought that. But what I am saying is that she's going to do things that may indicate that she feels like this guy's manipulating me too. So I got to do something about that. Fuck this guy. Fuck these people. Well, no, fuck these people, but fuck this guy even more for a second. making me think that I could be manipulated along with what my mother tried to do or what these people try to get me to do. At least they're trying to do something good. You were just trying to, I don't know what you're trying to do, but you're fucking crazy. Anyway, so I just want to say that out loud. I don't expect you to answer because you do know what happens, but I just don't know. I can't wait. I can't wait to find out.
I'm just taking it all in.
I can't wait
taking it all in.
Now now you're just like a backboard. Like now you're just like,
yep,
just hitting you in the head, and you're like, yeah, I can't do anything here. Yeah. Dave, you got me in an impasse. I can't react to this factoid. But anyway.
All right, I got poker face.
Let's cap this off by saying this much. Seeing the confluence and the parallels between Dakota and Victor to Morgan to John. It really gets you to see every character, bad or good. And especially like when you look at Teddy. I kind of want him to succeed because he's really good at this for some reason. The circumstances have changed enough for him to be good at this. But isn't it amazing how like you still want Dakota to die? And many people do. I'm not ignoring that fact. But at the same time, this episode made it so that you could be like, okay, I get you a little bit more than I did last episode. And now I'm able to understand your motivations via the motivations of Victor. And this like gradation, this hill gradation between Dakota to Victor to Morgan to John Dory Sr., and then Teddy going all the way back to the top again, back to Dakota. It's like an Escher painting or something, MC Escher. So you don't know where the beginning, the end is the beginning. You don't know where that starts.
I'm not going to say Strand is as bad as Dakota. There's like levels to villainy we're seeing.
Right. And wherever you are in life, or however the secret sauce that makes you up, you will find ways and maybe that's my problem with Dakota, right? You'll find kernels of things that you see in yourself in that other person, things you hate, things you identify with, or things that you just completely get. I completely get being a reject. I kept trying to think of what some of the things that Dakota's talking about, but like me going to synagogue and hearing about all these, and I've mentioned this briefly on the show before, and I can't remember, I know you were there, but like it being like a gossip farm, right? But even where the men, because the men and the women sit separately in an Orthodox synagogue. So, but even the men talking about the business dealings and like, oh, I screwed this guy, I screwed that guy, like, oh, I made so much money that day, like whatever, like, or like, oh, just like, oh, I'm better than you, or, like, and people trying to show up, and even on some of those high holidays, right, where you're supposed to kind of be, repentant and all that stuff. Even me, and I am literally Dakota. I was Dakota. I said, I am sick of this shit. I'm not coming back here. I don't like this. This isn't helping me. It's not helping me be a better person. Everything that makes up me helped me in some way to say, but no, I stop. I understand where she's coming from. And just like I did with the Victor Negan thing, is like, those people I understand later on in life. That's who they are. It's not that they're bad people. That's their job, is their life. That's, by the way, emblematic of Syrian Jews. Is like, that's, if you get them to retire, they die the next day. That's who they, well, I mean, I'm speaking figuratively, but hyperbolically. But like, people like that sort of, right? What I'm saying is that when I compare that feeling to what Dakota's going through, I actually understand her way better than I understand myself. Like, I don't want these people to die, and I want to kill people, and I want to run away that badly if it means eventually understanding them. But like Dakota being around these shitty people trying to do shitty things for themselves because they can, up to the point where like they feel like you have to murder somebody to get away. She wants to keep me here. I don't even understand why she wants to keep me here. I get that a little bit more, and that's why I was always like, I don't know how to feel about that. Anyway, so I just wanted to say that out loud. So, because even I'm trying to figure out, what is it? Like, I'm at the doctor's office. I'm at the psychologist's office right now, trying to figure out what is it about me that doesn't want to go that far. I don't even understand it fully. Like, I understand bits and pieces, like, oh, killing kids is bad, Sharon D. I'm going to end off with two things. One, the hilarious line between Sarah and Daniel. She says shit on a stick and is crying. I don't know if you noticed that. It's a resolution thing, but she does seem to have a little tear here. And Daniel goes, that's a pretty big stick. I like that he has humorous lines. I don't care what anybody says on Reddit about, oh, you took a badass guy from, down under the South America, fighting with CIA and being a murderer guy with torture and shit, and you turned him into a comedy act. I'm like, fuck you. This is the best version of Daniel Salazar, a guy that knows how to joke and loves his daughter and wants a replacement daughter. Fuck you in your face. The apocalypse is supposed to change you. It did that.
Daniel would even say that.
Hopefully. But here's the thing. there's even a little bit of frustration that you have, even though it doesn't make sense that you would, because it doesn't really matter whether Teddy or Riley live or die at this moment. They'll just go to the site that has the optimal evisceration pattern. If what they're saying is true, if they are faithful to their own cause, that's a whole other question that I will not bring up, because it just wanted to leave that there for you. Do you think Teddy is, we're not going to explore it. Do you think Teddy is committed to the finality of his cause? And do you think Riley is too? Leave that with you. We can talk about that. But when Morgan lets him go, there's a part of you that is somewhat frustrated. Why would he let him go?
Somewhat.
Well, but why? Because ultimately, it doesn't really matter.
Pissed.
It doesn't really matter, though, right? Because that's what he wants. He wants to be killed.
Yeah, I suppose Morgan had killed him. He'd be getting what he wanted. I'm just thinking more about just how frustrated I would be in the situation, and finally catching up to this person that's the cause of all of it, and it's the apocalypse, so there's no laws or anything. I'd kill him.
Right.
I would.
But why? Now, I get why Morgan wouldn't, because there's two things that at play here. One is the concept that I brought up last week about Alicia. If Teddy pushes Morgan to kill him, and Morgan gives him what he wants, well, fuck you, I'm not going to give you what you want. I'm going to let you go, right? There's a little fuck you, you're not dying today. Because I know you want it. Okay, let's put that to the side now. I think if there's a chance of him trying to figure out at least one or two of the spots that are going to be nuked, follow Teddy and Riley, because that's where they should be heading to. Again, leaving you with that question, audience. Will Riley and Teddy live up to that promise of eviscerating themselves? We'll see. Human nature sometimes takes over. But I will say, if he's to know exactly where not to go, then he'll go at least somewhere else. That's the question. So I think that's why I think he lets them go. He may be giving Alicia one last visit, so it could be also a chance for them to find out where she is. That's another idea. That was my first one. I just wanted to do the other one, so be like, okay, well, maybe they should know where not to go. Put like a tracker on him or something. I don't know. But I thought that was interesting, because how else are you going to know? Oh, we'll capture Riley on the way, and then make sure they're following the plan, and then we'll find out where the Franklin Hotel is. I don't know. But it was worth bringing up, because part of you is frustrated, but your logical brain is kind of like, I don't know why. I don't know why.
I was frustrated because
it doesn't make sense, damn.
Because I probably would have killed him, right? Like, I mean, they just went through all this bullshit to try and stop this shit. You know, they fired one off, and I mean, I would just be so frustrated. Like, I would take all my frustrations out on Teddy and kill him. I wouldn't even think about, oh, this is what you want, I shouldn't do it because that's what you want. Like, I would just be so emotional and raged out.
Well, yeah, and if you really think about it, like, okay, no, maybe both of them have a reason to kill them. If you really think about it, this is the very group that chased Morgan and Grace down off the road, and now the jury is really not out as to whether or not any of those events played into any of Athena ultimately not coming to this world. Right. That's very debatable, because you could say it's a concussive
Morgan could
impact.
very easily blame Riley, though, for that. Easily say, you killed Athena, your fault.
Right.
But it's Morgan, so he's going to blame himself instead.
Well, even Grace. See, what the interesting thing about that soup is. Let's even not even go there. Grace is adamant about it, the dream being meaningful. In the dream, it was really Athena saving her, right? So
yeah,
it can't be that. However, there's the other part of that, the reflexive part of that, is like she believed in it so much that it made her cause herself to make the mistake that he joined in on. And so it's not even Riley's fault. He knows in his heart that it's not Riley's fault. Riley just wanted the thing. Athena was going to die regardless. Grace is still alive.
Oh, I meant more in terms of the explosion, the car explosion that they left.
But like I said, it's highly debatable too. It's highly debatable.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
But
and
it would be easy for Morgan to blame Riley because of that.
And I think even Grace, well, that's what I was trying to say before. Grace knows that the majority of the damage to Athena was because of the radiation. And the facts bear out. We brought them up. We said, ionizing radiation, most common in radioactive nuclear reactors. But still, so he knows the truth. He can't run away from it. He's Morgan. He knows that he can't. He doesn't kill to kill. Morgan needs a pretty good reason to kill. It took that much for him to kill Emil. And this is somebody determined to try to capture and kill him and put his head in a box. So that's that. But Victor interestingly enough, and this really supports a little bit of what I was trying to say before, is that like he's not even able to pull a Cole, and he likes living enough, being Victor, but also in that desire to live, does not have even the strength to kill a kid to escape. Everybody knows the truth. Yeah. His days are numbered. If he leaves, he knows he's on thin ice with everybody because they know that he tried to kill Morgan in that one instance. Was it a mistake? Was it not a mistake? Doesn't matter.
Do you think he could convince everyone that Dakota's just a liar, though? I mean, obviously, because Morgan comes on the radio and is like, "Grace, I'm fine. I'm right here."
I'll say this much. Though that's really what you just said now about Morgan goes, "Oh, she was lying." Like, it depends on whether or not Morgan complies. And this is what I was saying before about Victor having the goods on Morgan at this point, and they both have reasons to kill each other, which again might cancel out, right? I don't know. Like, Victor can want to kill Morgan so that he doesn't confirm,
just so he doesn't tell the truth,
right?
Yeah.
And then Morgan could kill Victor for the mere fact that he tried to kill him, B, because he knows about Grace. Right. Which I know is kind of loose, but still matters.
Well, I feel like that would be important to Morgan. Whether or not it's important to us,
exactly.
It would be that important to Morgan.
Right. Okay. I like that. That's kind of cool when you think about it that way. But the biggest thing that Victor has over these guys is that, well, both of them, right? Yeah, I love that. That's a good parallel too. Yeah. Thank you. But the big thing is that Victor not killing these guys, listening to Morgan. First of all, he's submitting now. He's saying it was always going to be you. I guess it was never going to be me. Okay, Strando Calrissian complies, which is kind of a parallel to the movies as well. Lando isn't as bad as people thought he was. He did the right thing in the end. Anyway, but Strando Calrissian lives. He had the most to gain from killing these guys. I mean, part of it is he doesn't do it because if there's any chance of them finding Alicia, keeping them alive would be that chance. Okay. But for making them put him into position enough in order to be a type of person that's to go even further than he tried to do with Ginny could make him very resentful, considering what he felt like he had to do with Morgan. So I'm trying to put myself in his position. And in a sense, I'm kind of impressed with that he's submitting at this moment, because if it was me, I'd be so fucked up that I would kill them anyway. Because all the people that they've tried to push me to be, kind of like Dakota, in order to be, to gain this. Wow, again, another parallel between Victor and Dakota. I need to be this way in order to save all of you, or I need to be this way to save you, Alicia.
Well, and Strand said that earlier in the season. I can't do what I need to do with you around.
Right.
That's why he sends Alicia away.
Right. The exact same reason why, again, misunderstanding Alicia and Morgan, or their relationship and how connected they were. Just like Cole did with Alicia earlier. It's like, oh, you didn't know all of Madison. You didn't know all of Alicia. I think we clobbered this motherfucker to death. Thank you for joining us, first of all. I really appreciate that you guys make it out here for these episodes, listen to them, the premieres. I can't even tell you how thankful I am. I'm in many senses, in senses that I should appreciate more than anything else. I should appreciate your attendance so much more. And I try to. When I see the numbers and I get lost on numbers, I think of all of you who are consistent and loyal and love what we try to do. And if you do, really, really do appreciate what we're doing here. And if you have any comments too, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. And if you just want 5 stars and an eggplant is all you need to do, but please use it as a communications device. After every single episode, it really has helped. I will be posting these reviews throughout the weeks as they come out. I find that people like it when they see you succeed, especially if they like you. If they like you,
well, yeah,
they feel like they did the thing too. I think that's the most selfless expression of selfishness too. It's like, they're my friends and they're succeeding, so I feel like I'm succeeding, right? It's kind of like when you're watching the show when Alicia's kicking some ass, you're like, that's my girl. I'm so proud of you. I have no stake in the game. I'm literally watching this through a pane of glass or whatever. Anyway, so yes, please keep rating us. You helping us succeed makes us succeed, meaning you and us. You made this happen. And that's something that nobody can take away from you. That's on the internet forever. But if you really, really want to be a part of the solution, like Dakota with Teddy or Alicia with Morgan, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. If you do, you'll know when we record. You'll know when the unedited episodes drop. See how I said that right? And the Jackbox games, whenever we get around to them, we should be playing a lot more of these during the break. It's just so you know. But follow us. And if you want to get the unedited episodes, if you want to be a part of the conversation, buy us a coffee. When you buy us a coffee, you'll get access to our supported back content for 30 days. And if you subscribe to a coffee a month, the party never has to stop. And with that, everybody, I cannot wait. Well, I wish I could wait for the season finale of Fear the Walking Dead season 6. I really wish. It feels like it's been such a long ride, and yet it's a ride that eventually has to come to an end.
I know this episode's going to air later in the week, but should we wish Alexa happy birthday anyway, since today's her actual birthday?
I think you should. I think we should. For the people that have, from the OGs like Squawking Dead contributor, Sharon, aka Blazy Gardner, for those people watching the unedited episodes, happy birthday, Alexa. Yeah, happy birthday. Happy 15th birthday. I said it online, and I'll say it again now.
I said it everywhere.
Yeah, and I'll say it till the end of time, or at least until next birthday.
Well, I guess technically her birthday was over 25 minutes ago.
David. You sure you're not in Central Time Zone? Anyway, so...
well.
Almost.
Might still be her birthday for her.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It is. So technically, I'm still in the right. We were talking about this earlier, too. We were saying how, it's like we were there from the beginning, saying awkward things on the internet because you're all drugged up. Like, oh, that's my girl. No, but we were like, I know things are still kind of iffy on the COVID front and everything, but we really do hope that it was a good one. We love seeing you grow and succeed. And if you ever need anything from us, we're here for you. That's all I'm going to say. I could give you old man advice to the cows come home, and you could be like, 15. But
let's be honest, she could probably be giving us some advice. She's so mature and beyond.
Yeah, some kids have that, right? That little bit like, whoa, where is this coming from? But then they turn around and say something completely stupid. I'm expecting stupid things from you, Alexa. I'm hoping. But do you know why? Because it means you have so much more life to live. It's okay to not know things. I said this somewhere else. But it's okay to not know things, and it's okay to not know exactly what you want to do in life. Just enjoy it. That's my best advice I can give to anybody. The best advice I can give to anybody. It's okay to not know a thing. It's okay to admit you don't know a thing. It's okay to admit that you don't know what you're doing. Because when you admit that, you can be human again. And not, I have to know everything, and I have to show the world, especially people that are stupider than me, right? Okay, that's the extreme of the other side of that. So, either way, thank you. Alexa, happy birthday. I've been David Cameo, joined by Cosmom09, Sharon Blazy Gardner in the chat, and Maxine earlier, Lionesses, actually, 01 on Instagram, and Mad Maxine, I think, on Twitter. I'll figure that one out. That's going to go on the blog. Thank you for joining us all the way from the UK. I guess you got your night shift back, huh? So, take care, everybody. Have a good one, and we'll see you in the season finale. I say I can't wait, but I can wait. I hope it stays in production forever. We'll never get it in public. Okay, you got it already.
So excited.
See you.
So excited.
See you soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Woo!